Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, here's a bit of truth about the spiritual journey, enlightenment journey. And the bit of truth is that spiritual journey isn't about self improvement, it's about self destruction, destruction of the self. One of the reasons that you are being part of the spiritual journey is to improve yourself, isn't it? Improve yourself in the outward journey and also inner rearrangement. Positive mindset, positive action, that's what you're looking for from your spiritual journey. But that is just a fantasy. Definitely, your quiet practice or your meditation is helping you to improve yourself in the relative journey, in the outward journey. But notice that even you're able to improve yourself in what you do, how you act. But one thing is for sure that the improvement hasn't dissolved the inner conflict and fear in you. And that's the reality. When you reflect, you will see that the fear is still present. And because of the fear, you are seeking self improvement, to improve yourself, to upgrade yourself, to refine yourself to that highest potential. And that seeking itself is the sign of fear. Life on the outside, yes, we can rearrange ourselves. We can see the human potential, to see our own potential, how far we can go in experiencing life. But when it comes to spiritual journey, spiritual freedom, spiritual enlightenment, that seeking self improvement and prolonging that journey itself creates a lot of conditioning in oneself. And the conditioning is basically self, illusion self. The self is the ego. And when you start to be part of the spiritual journey, when you start to get interested in the journey, you don't see in the beginning that you have to give up the self. You don't see that the spiritual journey is about the destruction of the self, not improvement. Only ego seeks improvement. So, in the beginning, the spiritual journey starts with a self improvement. And then you associate it with the meditation, quiet practice, aligning with bunch of spiritual journey. Yes, you can be more aware from the spiritual journey. But being more aware, again, doesn't dissolve the pre existing conditioning, which is the ingrained belief. And that ingrained belief also happening from the place of fear. Only when we start to question ourselves, then we start to see the layers. Until the self-inquiry is present in the spiritual journey, the seeking is all about self-improvement. And the main journey is sort of ignored until the self destruction journey is on and continue until the truth is seen. There is no freedom, there is no peace, there is no contentment in life. Isn't it? Is there peace in your life? Is there unchanging peace? Is there contentment in your life? Are you in ease? Questioning oneself is the way to know that whether we have that or we don't have that, which is the truth realization. Truth realization can only happen through destruction of the self. Again, self is the ego. When you say, I'm just being myself, but that I'm just being myself is what? Is coming from the conditioning. I'm just being myself is coming from your perception and action. And perception and action is what? That comes from the place of preference, place of belief. To be yourself, you gotta drop the perception and drop the action. Because no action and perception is needed to be you, real you. Nothing is needed to be you. But also you need to do to be real you now. Why? Because of the pre-existing conditioning. Our conditioning is the source of struggle, is the root of struggle. So even we are the truth. We are the consciousness. The nature of the consciousness is conscious and empty. Empty. We're not able to rest in who we are, isn't it? Because of the conditioning. And because of that, we have to work on ourselves to figure out the truth. Now it's an effort. But when you get to the truth, then you realize that truth is the plain sight. Truth, we're just foolish to work so hard to get to the truth, but it's just there. But that seeing is not there in the spiritual journey until you get to the truth. So until you see the truth, realize the truth, you see it's a plain sight truth. So people have this idea that you don't need to do anything to be who you are. That is bullshit. These are the people who have so much inner conflict and fear. Not just them, everybody has that inner turmoil. The inner turmoil is a sign that the fear exists. Emotional fluctuation shows that there is a fear. Even people who say that you don't need to seek to be who you are, that perception itself is an ego. So that is a misinformation. That is not true. Because you are already conditioned. When life is already conditioned for decades and decades, you are that. And that conditioning is the self. That conditioning has molded you, and you identify yourself with that. And when you identify yourself with that conditioning, you are the self. And truth is no self. No self means empty. Consciousness is conscious and empty. So, how to get to rest in who you are is by emptying yourself. But that emptying yourself is not throwing things you can't throw, because it's the mind. Your mind you cannot throw. Even after realizing the truth, the mind is still there. The only difference is you're not affected by the ripples of the mind. Because the journey towards the truth, seeing the truth, makes you realize that mind is not true. Mind is just illusion that comes from the place of experience. But again, you are not there yet, then the mind is the reality. All you have is the mind. When you ask yourself, who am I? All you have is the mind. I am this and I'm that. Wherever you have become so far, you identify yourself with that. And beside that, you know nothing, isn't it? Be true to yourself. Be vulnerable. If you're hearing this, you know nothing about yourself except your mental identification. Without the mental identification, all you have is the fear. Fear of being nobody. Fear of the unknown. Fear of uncertainty. Fear of death. And because of all the fear, there is the self. Self is the ego. Self is a preference. Self is a belief. Self is the mind. I am this and that is self. Who am I? I am this and that is the self. So, again, spiritual journey isn't about the self-improvement. The outward journey is improvement, self-improvement, egotistical improvement, ego improvement. Ego thrives on identification and ego builds on that identification. The world is that. All human beings are that. Egotistical self, mental self. So, inward journey is a self-destructive journey. Destruction of the self means destruction of the ego. Ego is the mental identification. And this journey is about destruction of the self means you're not destroying yourself and throwing your life away. Destruction of the self means in examining one's identification with the world, with the mind and seeing its nature, to differentiate what is true and what's not true. Examining will help you to differentiate. Examining will help you to see your flaws, to see your deeper fear, and the journey to wake up. You need to see your flaws. You need to see your fear. Not just that, you need to work on your flaws and fear to understand why you hold on to it, why you listen to it, why you give yourself to the fear, and also overcoming the fear. And how can you make that happen? Is self inquiry, examining yourself. And examining yourself is you tracing your belief backward. Who you are right now is a belief, but truth of who you are is not a belief. Truth exists, but it's not a belief, it's not an experience. How do you get there? To actualize the plain sight truth, to actualize the true nature of who you are, is tracing the mind backward. You have ingrained belief, you have fear, you have attachment. Accept that. Accept that they are also making you suffer. And enlightenment journey is about overcoming the suffering, the inner suffering specifically. So how do you make that happen? Is tracing your attachment backward all the way to see the root and dismantling the root. If you're working on your fear, tracing the fear backward to see the root and dismantling the root. Using the belief of preference, tracing back to see the root, why we hold on to the root, and then also dismantling all the way until nothing is left. Why we need to go until nothing is left? Because the true nature of who you are is conscious and empty. So you have to empty yourself. So tracing the mind backward is the way to empty yourself. Not just that, it makes you thorough of your mind and to wake up to the conscious self, conscious you. Thoroughness is important. That's why it's called enlightenment. To enlighten yourself, you have to be thorough of your mind by moving backward in the mind. So, again, spiritual enlightenment, the real spirituality is about self-destruction, not self-improvement. So, once you realize the truth, life will be non-conflicting. In that sense, self-improvement, can be seen as a byproduct. But without seeing the truth, you're just trying to just improve yourself physically and mentally. That is not freedom. That is not true freedom. That is the egotistical move. And the spiritual freedom is about death of the ego, destruction of the ego. Okay, I hope this video makes sense to you to some extent. I hope it's pointing towards direction. Um, it's a tough journey for sure, because you have to, step back from your comfort to examine everything. You have to step back away from the fun. But that's the journey. That's the journey. But even if challenging, still doable, still possible. It's, it's possible for everyone who are interested and who are willing to do the work. Your awareness and your thorough approach will not fail you to see the truth. Truth is already within you. To find what is within you, to figure out what is within you, is possible for everyone. Okay? So just do it. Just do it. Be part of it. Make a habit of doing self inquiry. Make a habit of tracing the mind back little by little. And in a few years, you'll be free from your fear, free from the inner struggle, free from your emotional fluctuation. That is guarantee if you be part of the practice now. Now is the time. Okay. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care for now.